Hey everyone. So the World Cup's been going on, and there's something that I can't quite stop thinking about. Seeing it play out again and again with so many different people at the World Cup. And what I can't stop thinking about is this concept of how you can't plan your success, right? What I mean by that is you don't know when and how you are going to be successful and whether or not your definition of success is actually going to play out. And there are multiple different examples I'm going to share now that sort of show this, right? So you can go on to do everything, wish everything, hope everything, have everything that you need to be successful and still not be successful. And on the other side, you might not have the best situation or circumstance and not be poised for success or be destined for success as some other people, but then you might eventually still go on to be successful, right? And here's what I mean. So for example, let's take Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo is definitely one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest, and he's basically won everything that you can win in football except the World Cup, right? And so this World Cup was his last opportunity to win it. He was 41 years old. That itself is a big deal. If you're 41 years old and playing in the World Cup, that's incredibly rare. Uh, I don't know too many people that can play in the World Cup, let alone play at his level. He scored like I think it was two goals, and the point is that no matter how good he is, no matter how great he is, he still didn't end up winning the World Cup, and this was his last World Cup, right? Uh, he also had a very good team, especially this time round, right? The team was pretty stacked, and they had every reason to go all the way to at least the quarterfinals or semifinals, at least on paper. But for whatever reason, that didn't happen, right? And he is literally the definition of hard work, of dedication, of commitment. There probably isn't any other footballer, who's as hardworking as he is, and even some of the greatest footballers of all time will say the same thing that he's probably hands down the hardest working footballer that there is, right? And he won everything, but he still couldn't win the World Cup, right? And for many people, I'm sure for him as well, it's probably the most important thing, right? That he just couldn't win. Next example, we have Neymar. Neymar was arguably one of the greatest footballers of all time. Or no, actually, no, I wouldn't say of all time, but actually one of the greatest footballers in the world at at a point in time, right? He was the most expensive transfer that's ever happened. I think when he was sold from Barcelona to PSG for like I think it was like 200 million or something like that, and he had all the talent in the world, right? In 2014, their team was really good. But then he had this really bad injury where he was out of the World Cup, and that the next match after the injury was like horrendous. They lost 7-1. I guess the players just couldn't play without Neymar, right? And then ever since then, he still played well at the club level, but at the national team level, they never really achieved anything meaningful, right? And again, I think he's only like 31 or 32, but this World Cup was also his last World Cup, right? And he's an example of like having the talent, having everything, at his disposal. But, you know, many people say it's injury. Some say that it was his lack of dedication or effort. Whatever. The point is that even he didn't go on to win the World Cup, or be successful, like, from his point of view, because he had every reason to be able to win the World Cup, especially I think in 2014. They and it was in Brazil, right? But they lost so horribly. We then have now the opposite, right? We have Vozinha, the goalkeeper of Cape Verde. So for a lot of people, Cape Verde was a country that people didn't even know about until the World Cup, right? It's like a small island. And for the size of their country, for the quality of their players, they did really well. Like their draw against Spain, and uh, the number of saves that this goalkeeper made, Vozinha, was incredible for someone of his, like, like, no offense, but he plays in the second division in Portugal, right? He's not a well-known goalkeeper at all, and most of the players on that team are not well-known either. And he made a shit ton of saves, and he's 40 years old as well, right? So all these years he was grinding, probably moving from one club to another, no sign of, like, I don't know, meaningful success or fame or whatever. But this one World Cup turned out to be his biggest moment, his greatest moment. So he was not like in a position where, obviously, they didn't go ahead. You know, I think they didn't go past their group stage. But the point is, even for a team like that, based on their performance, they were like pretty successful given how they performed, given where they come from, and like what the emotional players. I think they play in like the second and third divisions in random countries, right? So his moment came at 40, finally, right? And now he's really famous, and he'll probably get offers from clubs maybe for his last 1 or 2 years, right? uh, and all of this happened now at 40, right? So all these years he was grinding, he didn't really see much of it, and now it all came together. Then we have another incredible example, Leo Messi. Leo Messi lost three finals in a row: 2014 World Cup, 2015 Copa America, 2016 Copa America. After that, a person is pretty much like mentally done, because those are the two biggest international competitions that Argentina could win. And they lost three finals in a row, right? But Leo Messi kept grinding, kept getting back at it. And in 2022, they ended up winning the World Cup, right? So, and by the way, even that final, it was not easy against France. Many people argue that France was the better team and they should have won that final. But it was definitely not easy for Argentina to win it at all. If you go back and watch that final as well, like they went to penalties, and it was like uh, a shit ton of goals, and it was a nail biting finish, all the way to penalties, and then Argentina winning. So even in his case, he didn't know when he's going to win the World Cup, right? Especially at that point in life, when you've gone through three finals and lost all three finals. At that point, mentally, even for all those Argentinian players, they'll be like, shit, like maybe we just cursed, you're not meant to win, or whatever, right? So many different thoughts come. But they went on to go to the final in 2022 and win the World Cup. And now it seems like they're going to go to the final again, right? Especially against Egypt. I know that match was crazy. There were a lot of bad calls from the referee, but still, for Argentina to go up 3 goals after they're down by two, it's still a big deal, right? So this is my point. Like you never know what's going to happen. The point of all these examples that I'm trying to make is that you just have to keep grinding and keep pushing, and sometimes you won't be successful, and sometimes you will be successful, and you won't even realize that, okay, this was going to happen, you know so the point is, you can't plan your success. You can do everything it takes and still not be successful, and sometimes you might you might not have done as much and still ended up successful, right? So the point is, we get so caught up in trying to be successful, right, that we forget the actual inputs, the actual journey towards success, right? And the reality is that, you can do everything but still not be successful. So it's important to just keep going, keep grinding, keep pushing. And if the success is meant to be, it will come, right? And in some cases, it will not. And then that's just life, right? So, for example, with Cristiano Ronaldo, the fact that he didn't win the World Cup doesn't change that he is one of the greatest footballers of all time. It just doesn't change that at all, right? And many people might say it, or but he knows it. Everyone knows it. He's still one of the greatest players of all time. Okay, so sometimes even the success that you're looking for, right, might not even uh, clearly reflect who you are as a person. I feel like a lot of people even allow or choose to let success define who they are, right? Now, in the case of Cristiano Ronaldo, I mean, it doesn't matter. Is it really important that he didn't win a World Cup? Like, are you really going to look at that? Like, that would be ridiculous. Like, if you judge Ronaldo's ability and career and success over the fact that he didn't win the World Cup. So I think it's deciding, what the scorecard is, what success is, uh, what true success is, not letting it define you, and also not being uh, hell bent on achieving that particular metric of success, right? And I'm giving examples of football, but it could be anything, right? A lot of us are so crazy about, oh shit, I have to make X amount of money. I have to have this startup. Like for me, all these years, I've always been like, I want to build a startup, and I've always put so much pressure on myself to have a startup, right? Uh, or maybe someone wants to be a professional athlete, etc. Whatever your measure of success is, the truth is you can't plan it. You can only do all the things that you can control, that will lead to a success, and then after that you just leave it to God, and then if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, that's just what life is, right? So yeah, I mean, it's crazy if you think about it. It's just so crazy that you know Leo Messi is a great example. Three lost three finals, finally won a World Cup. Now they're gonna go to the final again, most likely, right? Cristiano Ronaldo did everything, won everything except the World Cup, right? Um, Neymar was such an incredible talent, really supposed to be one of the greatest players of all time, but he never got to that, right? Like just seeing Neymar at the end of that Brazil game where they got knocked out by Norway, it was one of the saddest sights just to see like what's happened, what's become of him, right? And then this guy Wozinha, who just came out of nowhere, and now their country, like I read somewhere now, their showing at the World Cup has boosted like tourism to Cape Verde, right? And, like all these crazy things happen just because of their showing at the World Cup, right? So you never really know. And the reason I'm also talking about this is because for too long I have been obsessed myself with, you know, being successful in some shape or form, not necessarily financially, but it's always something or the other, right? Whether it's a startup or whether it is like it was at one time becoming professional as a footballer, right? But I've gone on to see now that the important thing isn't whether that particular success comes or not. What's more important is everything that you do that leads up to that, right? So like Ronaldo, such an inspiration. Just his diet, his workout, his sleeping, everything is in line. Everything is to the hunger, the drive, the determination. That is what is is the thing that makes him who he is. That's what makes him amazing, not the World Cup, right? And that's what we should look at. That's what we should be inspired by. and we should role model all the inputs, not the outputs. That's how I would think about it. Anyways, so I know I've spoken a lot. Um, but yeah, this is something I really wanted to share. And now, inshallah, in the future, I also plan on bringing guests and having conversations, so it doesn't seem like you just listen to like one person, just like me talking to myself. But I really enjoy this, and I'm gonna keep posting. I don't know how many people are listening or how many people actually care, but I really like to share these things, and it's a way for me to also look back in future at the things that I was thinking about, things that I uh, was learning about, and how that will have impacted me and stayed with me until that point in future when I see look back at these episodes. So, anyways, thank you very much for listening, uh, whoever is listening, and I hope to start bringing on some more guests at some point and making these conversations more interesting.